As you'll recall, yesterday I uploaded a video talking about the appearance of David Petraeus and the CUNY, and about how liberals were crying like a bunch of little bitches because people were daring to protest this war criminal. Well, I made the point in that video how liberals still end up being pro-war in the end, and they still end up being pro-imperialism in the end, which is why liberalism is also bad, along with conservatism. Well, almost as if to punctuate exactly what I was saying, Americans Against the Tea Party, a liberal group, decided to go full pro-imperialist. As you recall, just recently, Vladimir Putin wrote an op-ed column in the New York Times where he criticized American exceptionalism. Now here's the crux, or the main point of his argument, that Americans Against the Tea Party had a problem with. It is extremely dangerous to encourage people to see themselves as exceptional, whatever the motivation. Well, after this, Americans Against the Tea Party pretty much just flipped their shit and went full right-wing. As a liberal, you should never go full right-wing. They immediately came out with an angry denunciation, or at least the head of whoever the organization is, who put out the statement, with an angry reply to Vladimir Putin. The first half of which was pretty much just all name-calling. I mean, literally, they were just name-calling Russia and Vladimir Putin. It was actually pretty sad. So then we could see the reactionary character of even a liberal group like Americans Against the Tea Party. They formed no rational argument against what Vladimir Putin was saying and just went directly right into name-calling. For an example of some of the childishness that actually came out, it became, Russia is so bad, the only people who would want to be there are people who are facing time in jail, a life in prison. They were directly referred to by name, Edward Snowden, the guy who leaked a lot of the criminality of the U.S. government, which, by the way, Americans Against the Tea Party, I'm pretty sure that they were against the criminal acts, by saying the only reason he would ever go to Russia was to avoid life in prison. Well, in actuality, he left the United States because he was going to go into life in prison. He didn't choose Russia because of that. He left the United States because of the coercive force that made him leave. His choice of Russia, or had he chosen any other country, was really immaterial to that fact. The fact that he had to get away from the criminal U.S. government, which, by the way, I think the Americans Against the Tea Party have pointed out before. Well, then they just went ahead and called Russia communist, even though it's really, really capitalist and really obvious. Now, from there, they went on to defending U.S. imperialist actions by, one, not actually acknowledging the existence of imperialism, and two, demonstrating a complete ignorance of their own imperialist history. Sometimes we meet those standards and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong, and sometimes we put a bunch of evil douchebags in the wrong office. Nobody's perfect, but we do try. We try to live up to the standards that the world holds us to, and to which we hold ourselves. We have to. We're held up to those standards because it is our duty to never forget the consequences of our decisions and the power of our influence. Which basically means they don't even actually understand what the criticism American exceptionalism is. The criticism, as noted by many philosophers and political scientists, even in the U.S., which the Tea Party has chosen at least not to research, is the idea that America is always right, and that they are the supposed champions of the world, that everybody has to respect, that everybody is required to listen to, and that America is great and virtuous, and that any bad thing they ever do is just merely a mistake and not a malicious act that's intended to carry out a series of interests that come from its own ruling class. In other words, American exceptionalism is a large delusion that's fed to the U.S. population to justify its actions overseas. But apparently the Americans Against the Tea Party don't understand that. And instead, they continued that American exceptionalism, the blind belief that they are the champions of the world and that everybody else holds them up to this standard. Well, allow me to just bring your whole world down upon you. No, we don't. We don't hold you to any high standard. You are an awful empire that has killed hundreds of millions of people over hundreds of years, all for your own benefit and profit. We don't see you as the world's champions. We hate you. There is a reason why America is despised, and not jealousy, as a lot of people who are blinded by American exceptionalism like to think. The world hates you because of the things that you have done to the entire world. But this doesn't even enter your minds at all. Americans against the Tea Party. You don't think about that. Because you're the supposed great champions of the entire world, and everybody holds you up to a higher standard. In reality, you do exactly what we expect you to do. Invade a country on false pretenses, mass murder its population, steal its resources. In fact, that's pretty much all you've ever done. That's what every single empire has ever done. You are no different in this regard. You are no different than English imperialism. You're no different than the empires of old. You're not, your spirit, your American spirit is not some great virtuous thing that the world needs to have. You're not great. People don't like you. We don't look at you as a great role model that we're supposed to follow. A couple of foreign leaders kiss your ass. Media people in a few countries, a few of them, kiss your ass. That doesn't mean we like you. For an organization that seems to acknowledge that the media lies and doesn't present what people really think, you seem to have followed that one just great. The media in these other countries are not all that different, not all that dissimilar to the one in your own. They too also don't broadcast the truth of what it is that the population thinks. And this is exactly what I was talking about in the video yesterday. Despite the claim by liberals that they're against the war, they're against crime, they're against all the bad things that the system does, that the empire does, when they even acknowledge that the empire exists, they still turn around and defend it. They still defend the immoral wars. And then when they've dragged on too long and they start to suffer, then it becomes, it was a mistake and we're against it. Yet they jump on board every single time a new one happens. This is the essence of liberalism. And what we also see here, laid quite bare for everyone to see, is the fact that the idea behind it, the self-righteousness of American exceptionalism, the belief that America cannot be wrong, that America has the right to go around and tell other people how to think, is still defended by these same people. They literally believe that installing people like Saddam Hussein, and the US did install Saddam Hussein as a leader, was a mistake. No, it was not a mistake. It was something they did deliberately to fulfill the interests of the ruling class in the country. They don't understand that it's an empire. It does bad things. They are not mistakes. They are intentional. And in the end, no matter what, liberals will always jump to its defense. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, share on various social media. And if you want, there's some other good videos here you can check out.